It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Well, hello there. Howdy-ho there. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. How are ya? Today is an All Musicians Day. Very happy about that. After all, our show was founded on that concept of promoting music. We've got two up today. First one is Omar Akram. Very excited to have him here. He's a Grammy Award winning artist. He won the Grammy in 2013 for Best New Age Album. And he's got a new single out now called Here I Am, which is co-produced by Walter Afanasieff. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And Walter was the producer of the mega hit song My Heart Will Go On, which was on the Titanic movie, sung by Celine Dion. One of the biggest songs of all time. So Omar is in great company on Here I Am. Actually, I think he said Walter sings on this one. It's a great track, and we'll be playing it at the end of his interview. He will be followed by Nick Isham. Nick is a singer-songwriter from LA, and he's got an interesting story. He was a football player who turned musician, and we're going to be playing his single during the interview called Thinking Too Much. Before we get to Omar and Nick, we've got our complete radio promotional package playlist to get to. Featuring this month, The Night He Came to Town by Luann Hunt, followed by Belly of the Beast by George Hendrickson. For more information on these artists, please go to our website, douglascolemanshow.com, and click on the Featured Music Artist link. And there you will find their pictures, bios, and links to their music. So, we got a lot to get to. This year is just flying by. It's already halfway through August. Unbelievable. Here is The Night He Came to Town, followed by Belly of the Beast.
The clock struck 12 in the pale moonlight. The great owl called, the souls took flight. The lost walked on into the night to search for light of day.
His eyes were two. He said, "Now I've been sent for you. It's not ostrich, how much did it cost ya? Locked in the belly of the beast and going away. And if your nights are longer, family never calls ya. Must have been your order, God, you're getting older. Locked in the belly of the beast, going away. The belly of the beast, time is today. The longer that you hold out, further you will drift down. When you turn that corner, man, the world's your oyster. Locked in the belly of the beast, going your way. Locked in the belly of the beast, your time is today.
Hi, this is John Morgan, Production Supervisor for DJC Productions, and you're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Omar Akram. Hi, Omar, how are you?
Hi, how you doing? Good, thank you.
Doing very well. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Let's see. You've got all kinds of stuff here. I got to say, you're the first Grammy winner that I've had on the show. We've had several Emmy winners, and we're kind of working towards Oscar. But you are absolutely the first Grammy winner. So congratulations for winning a Grammy. I know that's a huge thing. And I want to talk a little bit about that in a second. Your background is very interesting. I was reading your bio. You were born in New York. Your parents were United Nations diplomats. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, tell me a little bit about your childhood, because that sounds really interesting. Bet you moved around a lot.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. And yes, I was born in New York City. My father was a United Nations diplomat, and he is originally from Afghanistan. My father became a United Nations diplomat. So I was born in New York. More specifically, I was born in Queens, New York.
Okay.
And I had a very interesting childhood because we wind up living in different countries. So I was born in New York, then we were there for a few years, then we went back to Afghanistan for a little bit, and then we went to Prague for 3 years, and that's where I started to play the piano. And then we went to France, then we went to Cuba, and then back to the States. So yeah, I've had a pretty interesting childhood, and actually it's good because I was exposed to so many different cultures, and it reflects in my music. So yeah, it was great.
So how old were you when you started to play the piano?
I was about 6 years old, between 6 and 7. You know, I was a pretty hyper kid. So every time my parents would play music, I would calm down. So they figured, you know what, if we get him a piano, and if he starts playing music, then he would really calm down. So I was exposed to a lot of music when I was a child. You know, my parents were really into European classical music, and so that's how I started. I was about 6 or 7, and I my dad got me a grand piano, and we got a teacher from the Prague Symphony to come and teach me. So that was really fun, and that's how I started to learn to play the piano. For 3 years straight, I took piano lessons while I was living in Prague. So that's how I started. I had a great teacher. Like I said, she was part of the Prague Symphony, and it was a lot of fun I should say it was not a lot of fun to take, to learn and sit down. As a child, it's really hard to sit down and learn to play an instrument. But for me, what was fun is after the teacher would leave, I would just sit there and play, and I really enjoyed that part. So yeah, I took lessons for 3 years straight, from the ages, I would say, from 6 to 9.
Okay, so do you read music?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you one of those people that somebody can just put a piece of sheet music in front of you at the piano and boom, you can just play it?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Sight reading is not very good, but what I do is I got to write music for my own music. I can write the music, and I can also write music for other musicians to play the parts, but I'm not necessarily a great sight reader. Some of these guys are amazing. They just sit down and play anything. I'm not one of those guys. So.
Right. Well, there's kind of a balance with musicians. I'm a musician as well, but I can't read music at all. I'm completely an ear player. And then I've had musicians on the show who are typically they're classical musicians, that you can put the most complex piece of sheet music in front of them and they can just blow right through it. But the one problem that they have sometimes is trying to interpret the feel of something, because they'll just take it very technically right off the sheet. And if you say, no, I want it a little bit more like this way or this way, sometimes they have problems with that. There's a great balance if you can do both.
I completely agree with you. You just made a great point, and I think that's one of the reasons that I've had, problems in the past to work with some musicians, because either they're good sight readers where you just write and they can read exactly how you have it written down. But if you want them to improvise, let's just say you're in the middle of the tune and you want them to improvise for 10 or 12 bars, then it becomes a challenge for them, because that's just something they don't do.
Right.
So I completely agree with you. So yeah, I go by feel, especially, when I compose music, and I'm looking for musicians that can do that as well. That can obviously read, but at the same time are able to do some improvisation if I needed them to do that. Because you want every musician to kind of bring their own personality into the piece, right? Especially if you have, a little parts that needs to be improvised. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's sometimes a challenge to find a musician that can do both.
Well, that's very true. And then also, you want the piece to go how you want it. So then this is where bands get into arguments, because you'll say, well, okay, put your own spin on it. But then if they put too much of their own spin on it, people start having arguments about, no, I wanted it this way, not quite, you know what I mean? It's such a tightrope act when you're dealing with bands. It can be beautiful when it works. Yeah. But, I've been through that whole thing where, and I'm sure you have as well. I did want to ask you, since people are going to wonder how you went from playing piano at 6 years old to winning a Grammy, there's got to be some stuff in the middle there. How did you start, building your musical career? What did you do? Did you start performing live, or did you start recording? What was the process for you?
Well, it's a lot of hard work between the ages of 6 and by the time I was at the Staples Center getting my Grammy Award. You know the 10,000 hour of work and practice and work. So that really applied in what I've done. And really, the first thing is I worked on my craft, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm that I'm good, and for me, it was more of a passion. I honestly, I never really set out to win awards or, make, money and stuff like that. It was more like I just loved doing it. And as I progressed, I realized, hey, this is the only thing I'm really good at, and this is something that I really want to pursue. As I got older, when I was a teenager, just listening to different types of music, and naturally, I just gravitated towards becoming a professional musician. And I really, so that's the route I took. And, I was living back east, outside of Washington, D.C. area. And then in 1993, I made the move to Los Angeles, California. And that's when everything sort of started for me, because I really wanted to pursue my music professionally. And so, working whatever I could, playing in top 40 bands, playing weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it, I was there. And then eventually I got signed to a recording deal. At that time, it's before iTunes and YouTube and all of that. So for an artist to be a quote unquote national artist as opposed to a local artist, you really have to get signed to a record contract. That's the only way that you could get your music to Barnes & Noble and Borders and places like that. So I got signed, and, I did a few albums, and then I got nominated for a Grammy. So, yeah, I mean, I've always been just, you just keep doing it and keep doing it. Eventually things will happen. So that's absolutely true in my case.
So you won the Grammy for
Best New Age Album.
And that was in 2013?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that night, because I think a lot of people want to know what goes on. You show up, presumably you get a letter or something, or a phone call saying that you've been nominated,
yeah.
and to turn up at the Staples Center and sit there and wait, and hopefully they call your name. Is that kind of how it goes?
Well, yes, sort of. I think that the main thing is it's before. So you get nominated a couple of months before the actual award night. So you get nominated sometimes in December, and then the actual ceremony is in beginning of February. So I remember they have a big televised thing. I think someone like Taylor Swift or whatever, they do a big thing. The Recording Academy has a big show where they announce all the nominees. So that came out in December. And I remember I didn't even turn on the television. I told my wife, I said, you know what? I knew I was submitted, and I knew that I'm in the running with, a lot of, it's a lot of different artists and, labels that are in competition. So we didn't even turn the TV. I said, forget it. I don't even, And I remember I was, actually, my daughter was very young. She was, maybe a year old. And I was washing her bottles. I was in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, I hear my phone just going off like crazy. I mean, I'm getting 20 texts back to back. And I was like, what's going on? So I look, and they're like, oh, congratulations, you've been nominated. I guess people heard it on TV. And so that was the first, thing, that I knew I was nominated. So obviously the Recording Academy sends me an email and a big thing saying that I'm a nominee, and for my background being the first Afghan-American to be nominated for a major award was a big deal as well. That's what my background is. So I was really proud. And I told my wife, I said, just being a Grammy nominee is great, because, you for life, you're a Grammy nominee. So that was really the first step before coming to what you were talking about, which was the night of the ceremony, which was the first week in February. So, obviously an amazing experience. You're nominated, and you go and you think, well, you have all these, big names that are nominated, with you, and you think, how much of a chance do I have to win with these, great artists? And when, they called my name on stage was just amazing. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you have almost like an outer body experience. You're sitting there, they call your name as the winner of of the Grammy Awards, and it's crazy. You go on stage, and once you win, then they take you backstage, and you have like a media from all around the world. So what you see on TV, if somebody wins, and they thank everybody, and then they go backstage. Basically, when you go backstage, you have journalists. I mean, there's a PR person assigned to you, and they take you to all these different rooms that has all these journalists from all over the world interviewing you. So you wind up spending all this time, behind the scenes, giving all these interviews and stuff like that. So it was an amazing experience, but then, it was a proud moment for me and my family. And so hopefully we can do it again this year.
Hope so. So who was there? That was 2013. Who else was there that night?
I don't know. There was all the superstars, Beyonce and, Taylor Swift. I mean, Tony Bennett. We were sitting, I don't know, 2 seats down from him. All these famous DJs, Skrillex, Diplo. I mean, you name it. I mean, the Grammys, pretty much all the major, music figures are usually there, and so it was really proud, because you're all of a sudden, we're walking the red carpet, and you're coming from, just kind of hanging out, in your house, and all of a sudden you're walking the red carpet with like, Jay-Z is next to me, and we're high-fiving each other.
Wow.
I remember Chris Martin from Coldplay
yeah.
was walking right next to me, and we were just talking, and so you're out there just hanging out, and then next thing you know, you're next to all these people that that you admire, and or them, these superstars. So my wife is talking to Beyonce, just like they've known each other for years, because all of a sudden you're on that red carpet and you're with these guys, and they are you become like one of them all of a sudden, right? So they're acting like they've known you for years. So that was a very unique kind of go through all of that. It was amazing. So.
Well, that sounds like a pretty incredible night. So then after that, you said you go into the back room and you've got basically a press conference with all the media from around the world. And then you get invited. There's an after party, presumably, right?
Yes, there is several after parties. And honestly, by the time you're done doing all that stuff, you're so tired that you can't even, but we did attend we did stop by we did a couple of after parties, which was real nice. There's one main one that actually at the Staples Center, well, right across from the Staples Center is the Convention Center in Los Angeles. So that's where they have the after party for the Grammys, and we did stop by afterwards, and it was, really fun.
I want to touch on something you said also about how you said once you win a Grammy, then a lot of doors open for you. So what happened in terms of your career after you get the Grammy? I mean, did you start getting all kinds of phone calls and people want you on their shows, or what happened?
I think, for me was, I don't know if I touched on this earlier, but I became the first Afghan-American to win a Grammy Award. So, from that part of the world, you don't have a lot of, I was really the only person who ever won a Grammy Award. And so that sort of became an international news. So besides winning the Grammy, this became a big news. So a lot of the journalists from all over the world came to my studio in Los Angeles to interview me and to talk about this. But also, in Hollywood, it's interesting because you win an award like a Grammy or an Oscar, then all of a sudden just doors open for you and people will respond and people will return your calls. So to give you a quick example, a week after I won the Grammy, I get an invitation. My public relations person gets an invitation for us to attend Stevie Wonder's birthday party.
Wow.
Exclusive party. And you got to understand, Stevie Wonder, it's like, he's my hero.
Yeah.
And for him to, all of a sudden, I sort of met him a couple of times briefly, before that it wasn't anything, like we're, best friends or anything. But for him to invite me to his exclusive birthday party. So we get there, and gives me a big hug, congratulates me, introduces me to John Legend, who is there as well.
Wow.
And so, I'm all of a sudden you're in the company of all these, great musicians, which it's very, very hard to have access to these guys if you're not in that circle, if you know what I mean. So, it was just amazing. So from there, things started building for me, and started doing, projects and things like that. So yeah, it opened a lot of doors, and it puts you in a really good place as far as trying to accomplish musically what I wanted to do.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, it certainly bumps you up to a whole new level. Weddings are probably off at this point. Yeah, no more weddings.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You've got a new album out. It's called Destiny. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And it
coming out. It's coming out on Friday.
Coming out on Friday. Super. The single from the album is called Here I Am. Now the single's already out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Came out June 21st.
June 21st. Yep. Okay, super. How's the single doing?
It's doing great. I gotta tell you, doing this project has really been an amazing experience, because the people that I've collaborated with on this album has been amazing. So this single, like you mentioned, Here I Am, is my collaboration with Walter Afanasieff, who is the producer of great artists like Mariah Carey. He just finished doing producing the new Barbra Streisand album, and he won an Oscar for My Heart Will Go On. He produced a Titanic single.
That was a mega song. Dion. That was a mega song.
Yeah. Yeah. So he is, and he is an amazing guy and great producer. So an interesting thing about Here I Am is he actually wind up singing. And he doesn't even sing, because originally we wanted Josh Groban to do Here I Am, but he sounded so good as he was doing the demo for this song that we wind up keeping him. So it's just been an amazing experience. And then also bringing in, for the first time I worked with an ADP symphony orchestra, which I haven't done before, on a couple of tracks, which was amazing. We used the Slovak radio symphony to record 2 tracks on an ADP symphony, conducted by Sherdad Rohani. It's the same guy that conducted Live at the Acropolis for Yanni.
Oh.
And so we collaborated on that, and just been a great experience, all around. So I'm really looking forward for the album to come out on Friday and for the whole world to hear, because I've been really, what I try to do as an artist, and I'm sure you understand that, is we challenge ourselves every time we do a new project, and that's kind of what I try to do, is to challenge myself and to do something that I haven't done before. And hopefully it will show through this new album.
Well, super. Well, best of luck. I hope this album does really well. I have listened to Here I Am. It's a beautiful song. It's really beautiful, very moving.
I appreciate that.
We do have to wrap this up. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you're busy. You're at your studio now. So I'll let you get on with it. Again, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Hi, this is Omar Akram, and you're listening to the Douglas Coleman Show. And here's my single called Here I Am.
come and go. Let the mountains return to the sea. I can't stop the ebb and flow of how things change endlessly. But when I see you drifting, shifting like sand, that's when you need me. Believe me, just hold out your hand, 'cause here I am. Here I am. I don't know where to start. I don't care what tomorrow may bring. There's a place in the heart that knows the truth of everything. Love will awake you, take you to the unknown. But when you go there, hear me, I swear, you won't be alone. 'Cause here I am. Here I am. 'Cause here I am. Here I am. And I will be with you, breathe with you, just reach out your hand. 'Cause here I am. Here I am. Here I am. Here I am.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on The Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps, record producer. This is my story about Elton John, working with him in those early years, going back to 1967 at Dick James, all the amazing tours, those first recordings, going through to Rocket Records. And it's an amazing story about his incredible rise to stardom and my part in that. So look forward to taking you on that journey. So here we go. Yeah, and to order this great audio CD, please just email me at stuartepps@talk21.com. That's Stuart, S-T-U-A-R-T, Epps, E-P-P-S, at talk, T-A-L-K, 21 in figures.com. Stuart Epps at talk21.com. Email me and I'll give you all the details for buying this brilliant audio disc. Thank you. Bye.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Tired of living in a culture of lies, fake news, and alternative facts? The Pro-Truth Pledge reverses the tide of lies by calling on politicians, and everyone else, to commit to truth-oriented behaviors. The pledge asks signees to commit to 12 behaviors that research in behavioral science shows lead to truthfulness, such as clarifying one's opinions and the facts, citing one's sources, and celebrating people who update their beliefs toward the truth. Private citizens who sign the pledge get the benefit of contributing to a more truth-oriented society. Public figures get more substantive rewards for signing the pledge in the form of positive media and public recognition. The pledge crowdsources the truth by asking volunteers to evaluate the statements of public figures who sign the pledge. Take the pledge, demand that your elected representatives do so, and encourage your friends to take it at protruthpledge.org.
The Douglas Coleman Show is now offering a complete radio promotional package for music artists. Your track will air 28 times a week for 1 month over all of our online and terrestrial platforms, as well as permanently archive on Spreaker, iTunes and many other sites. Your profile will also be featured in our featured music artists page on our website. With this package, you will also get a 15-minute interview on our show to promote your latest single, EP, LP or upcoming gig. Similar packages like this can run hundreds of dollars and often are subscription-based. Our package is a one-time fee of just $49.99. Please go to douglascolemanmusic.com/CRPP. That's douglascolemanmusic.com/CRPP for complete details. Let's work together to get your music heard.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
And now...
Hey, Rocky! Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat! See? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Wrong hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Nick Isham. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Your bio is really interesting. You got to tell us how you went from football player to musician. That's like going from one end of the spectrum to the other.
The other, yeah. Yeah, man, well, I've always been a big music guy. I've always been in and around it. Kind of grew up in a musical family. And truth is, I was wanting to go to the NFL for football. And end of high school, I picked up guitar just as kind of an outlet from football, because I was like really in the whole football thing. And that's like kind of all I thought about ever. So I just wanted a little bit of a outlet from all of that. And Jack Johnson was my favorite artist at the time, and I wanted to be able to just pick up the guitar at the bonfire kind of thing, and be able to play some tunes. And then from there, first year of college and everything, I started writing songs pretty shortly afterwards at Louisiana Tech University, which I got a football scholarship there and was playing my freshman year. But the whole time I was a couple months into actually learning guitar, I actually started writing songs and just continued to write songs. And by the end of my 4 years of playing football, I had 4 years of messing around on guitar and writing songs, and I kind of decided to go the other route.
Would it be easier to make a career out of football or music?
Oh man, easier is a tough word. I don't think either are easy.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Which one is more viable, though? I mean, is there more of a chance you could be a professional football player or a superstar musician?
Oh man, I think I honestly don't think. I mean, viability wasn't like the decision really that kind of made it for me. It was more of looking at the what I was going to want to do longevity wise. I think you definitely have a longer career as a musician than a football player.
Oh, that's true.
I'll be able to play with my kids at 45 rather than be beat up. So that was part of what I was looking at.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you try to compare Tom Brady to Ed Sheeran. I think they're both doing all right.
Well, that's true. I guess I don't know. I guess it is a hard comparison because there's certainly a lot of musicians out there that are struggling to become somebody, but there's probably an equal number of kids that want to get into the NFL that just don't make it. So.
Oh yeah, there's thousands and thousands. Yeah, that's why I would say it's probably, if you look at if you try to compare it, it's probably about the same in terms of who's at the top of the game and who didn't make it to the top of the game, kind of thing.
Yeah. Did you just pick up guitar and just learn it on your own, or did you take lessons, or what?
Yeah, no, I learned it on my own. Along the way, I had a few lessons, but in the beginning, it was just YouTube videos and picking the brains of my friends. You know what I mean? Some friends of mine. Actually, some of the linemen on my team were singers and guitar players, just as like a fun thing. So it was me and these 280, 300-pound dudes hanging in my apartment playing music, which was fun. And yeah, I just taught myself.
Well, that's pretty impressive because some people takes them their whole life to learn how to play guitar well.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man, I'm no virtuoso, I wouldn't say, at guitar, but what I saw, because I've always been a writer, and I love writing, and like even before I was doing music, I would write poems and I would write little stories, and whenever there was a chance to write a letter or whatever, I was always writing something for my parents or my family or whatever. And so basically what I saw when I first started learning guitar was that a lot of these pop songs are just using 4 chords or 3 chords or whatever. They're not doing a whole lot chord wise. So I was like, all right, well, if Jack Johnson's just using 4 chords here, maybe I'll just write my own lyrics to my own 4 chords and go from there. So that's kind of how I started. I was just, let me learn 4 chords, and then I just took it very, very, slowly in terms of the chord and guitar side of it. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to stick to these and just write a bunch of songs. And then I would slowly learn another chord and then another one.
Well, that's a good way to learn. And also you're right about pop music, that a lot of it is just 3 or 4 chords. It's kind of what you do with the chords and what kind of melody you make in the middle.
That marriage of chord and lyric and melody.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's good. Good for you. So when you decided that you were going to be a musician instead of a football player, then how did you get started as far as getting your name out there and, making your rounds and stuff as a musician?
Yeah. Well, I kind of decided to really start pursuing it in 2016. So I was in college 2011. I graduated high school and started college in 2011. And then 2016 was when I decided to really go for music. First thing I did was made an Instagram because I was like totally not in the social media game at all. It's not something that I was into or doing. And so I did that, and then I went for at least 6 months to a year. I was playing an open mic to 2 open mics a night. Like I would go drive to an open mic out here in LA, and then if there was another one close by, I would go to that one right after I played the 2 songs or whatever at the first one. So I did that every single night just to really work on what it takes to be a singer-songwriter and performer, and really work on my communication with the crowd and get more experience under my belt.
So you're a solo artist, so when you go, you just have a guitar and sing and that's it? You don't have a band?
Yeah, so I've played with bands before. I've kind of done a few things, and now I'm really kind of settling into my own little thing. But I started just me acoustically, and then I did a number of shows with bands that I would just piece together with musician friends of mine out here. And then now it's kind of developed into it's still always been a solo act, but now it's me and a looper. So I have a
okay, I know what that is.
A loop station, yeah, and I'm starting to incorporate like a drum pad into that. So it's me, the acoustic guitar, and then the RC300 loop station. Shout out to Roland. And I'm starting to incorporate some drum pad stuff. So I'll be able to do drums on the drum pad and have that as my drum loop, and then build up beatboxing and background vocals and little guitar parts and bring the loops in and out, which is super fun. So
I had another guy on this show who does a similar act. His name is Daniel Park, and he does guitar, but he also does violin. And it's kind of funny the way he does it, because it's almost like cowboy sort of quick draw thing. He'll do the guitar part on the looper, and then he'll whip the guitar back over his shoulder, and then the violin is in this like stand, and he'll pick that right up and start doing that part and put that down. Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. Awesome. He
what's his name?
Daniel Park. P-A-R-K, yeah. He had a residency at I think it was the Bellagio in Las Vegas for a while.
Oh wow.
And now he's on a tour, and I think he's in Singapore right now. But he was a great guy, a lot of fun, and when I watched his videos it was just amazing, because the violin was something that was totally different. That I'd never seen that.
Yeah, violins are awesome, man. I love those instruments.
Yeah, and he's got a really cool electric one, and it was kind of neat.
There's this other girl, Jessie Hansen, that I know out here who does looping with violin, and it's like crazy, so cool.
Well, let's listen to your track. We've got one of them.
Cool.
Called "Thinking Too Much." Is there any story behind that one?
Man, the story behind it's just that. Personally, I'm pretty pretty straightforward. Think too much. Basically, like if you ever been out anywhere, a bar, or a grocery store, a gas station, the beach, or whatever, you see someone you're attracted to, and you want to go up and say something, and it's like they're super attractive, and you're like, I start to think like, what if that's the person I marry? What if that's the person I date? What if that, would she be into me? Would she not be into me? Blah, blah, blah. And then it just goes through this whole cycle of like, thinking too much. And then, she walks away and you never say anything. And it's like, damn it, lost that opportunity. Or you do go out to her and, whatever. But yeah, it's that whole process of seeing someone that you're attracted to and wanting to say something, but not knowing how to say it or what to say or how she'll take it. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's have a listen to this. This is Thinking Too Much by Nick Isham.
I'm hypnotized by the way the light hits your eyes. You got that $1 billion smile. And I can't deny, all I want is to walk up and say hi. But so many thoughts run through my mind, and I don't know why. I keep thinking you could be the one. I keep thinking that you could be the one. I keep thinking you could be the one. I keep thinking too much. I keep thinking too much. I keep thinking too much. Don't wanna pick this up, but I'm like, oh my God, can't talk, can't walk. I keep thinking too much. Don't wanna fall in love yet. I'm like, oh my God, can't stop these thoughts about the way you move. It's just gotta be too good to be true. I wanna paint every piece of you. Inescapable. Yeah, The way you look at me across the room, it's like I'm the only one with you. Don't know what to do, so I keep thinking you could be the one. I keep thinking that you could be the one. I keep thinking you could be the one. I keep thinking too much. I keep thinking too much. I keep thinking too much. Don't wanna get this up, but I'm like, oh my God, I can't talk, can't walk. I keep thinking too much. Don't wanna fall in love, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I can't stop these thoughts, yeah. Yeah, all I want is to lay with you all night long and stop these thoughts, oh, and turn them into something more. Yeah, all I want is you. I keep thinking too much, don't wanna get this up, but I'm like, oh my God, I can't talk, can't walk. I keep thinking too much, don't wanna fall in love, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I can't stop these thoughts. I keep thinking you could be the one. I keep thinking that you could be the one. I keep thinking you could be the one. I keep thinking too much. I keep thinking too much. Thinking too much. Thinking too much. Thinking too much. Thinking too much.
Hey, no, I like that. You got a nice voice. Yeah, good singer.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
What genre do you call that? Because it's, I didn't want to call it singer-songwriter, because singer-songwriter stuff typically you can't dance to. I mean, I love James Taylor, but I'm not going to dance to him, you know? But that's
Right.
got a dance beat to it that you could dance to.
Yeah. When people have asked me that, I usually say like acoustic pop. So it's definitely kind of pop music, but still telling a story. Basically, for my style, I like to keep the core of the song as, you know, a singer-songwriter, a guy with a guitar or a piano telling a story. But I love just interesting rhythms and drums and, you know, interesting things going on. So kind of keeping that core singer-songwriter thing at the base of the song, and then surrounding that with cool you know, drum patterns and interesting rhythmic things going on. So yeah, acoustic pop, I'd say.
Acoustic pop, okay. So who do you like? Who do you listen to?
Oh man, all sorts of people. It depends on the day, but some big influences I'd say are like Ed Sheeran, Justin Timberlake, Shawn Mendes, all the way to country artists like Sam Hunt and Chris Stapleton. And then, you know, I love old school stuff. I love old school funk. I love, you know, like Parliament and all that stuff. I love Bill Withers and Marvin Gaye, and Van Morrison. All of those combined into one.
Parliament. Was that George Clinton?
Yeah, George Clinton, man.
Okay.
I think that's what got me, you know, instead of listening to all like the Leonard Skinner and AC/DC growing up, my dad got me into Parliament and Sly and the Family Stone and all those guys. So that's kind of what I grew up on.
Oh, well, that's cool. So how much music have you got out there now? How many songs have you done?
So Thinking Too Much was my fourth single that I put out. And then I actually have another one coming out August 30th. It's called Get Loose. So that's going to be coming out soon.
All right. What is your website?
My website is nickisham.com.
Spelled?
NICKISHAM.
.com. Okay.
.com. Yeah, man.
All right, Nick. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your music with us. It was nice
Absolutely.
talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Best of luck. And again, your new single comes out August 30th, you said?
Yeah, new single comes out August 30th. It's called Get Loose. And, yeah, a song about having a little backyard dance party. So it's going to be another little dance one.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks again for coming on.
Cool, man. Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it.
Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guests, Omar Akram and Nick Isham. Thank you, guys. Enjoyed talking to you both. Also, thank you to Luann Hunt and George Hendrickson for their music. This is Douglas Coleman saying I'll see you when I see you.